So I just read the Night Lord Omnibus by ADB and I absolutely loved it. The main thing I think ADB did so genius in this book is the way he managed to make the crazy sadistic Night Lords into proper main characters. The traitor legions are all horrible monsters and the Night Lords might even be the worst of them all, but ADB still manages to make you care about all of the characters. Some authors might try to humanize them, in order to make them seem more sympathetic, but ADB doesn't create any such illusions. From time to time you might consider them reasonable, but only for ADB to shatter that image on the next page by showing you exactly what these sadistic monsters are capable of. Still somehow he manages to make you care about them and even root for them at times. Part of this is that he gives you an understanding of why they do the things they do. They truly believe that they are in the right and that what they are doing is justified. You also get to see the more tragic backstory the 8 Legion had, from their horrible homeworld to their deluded Primarch. You are even given an understanding of how they ended up the way they are, and therefore also why they do what they do. Sure, many of the Night Lords just get pleasure from butchering and torturing civilians, but for some of them there's a far more complex conviction that lies underneath. This complexity can also be found in the members of the Warband that you follow throughout the book. All of them might seem like cliché characters at first, but for each of them there's more to them. A certain twist or a deviating character trait you didn't expect at first, but it makes all the characters so much more interesting. Throughout the Omnibus, the characters keep getting expanded upon, making them more and more interesting the longer the story goes on. This doesn't just go for the Space Marines, however. You also see some parts from the perspective of a slave of Talos called Septimus, and of the ship's navigator Octavia, both of which are also very well written and at least as interesting as the Space Marines themselves. Furthermore, their perspectives help to further flesh out the relationship the Night Lords have with the humans living on their vessel. But even the smallest of side characters have something interesting about them. For those more familiar with Age of Sigmar, this reminded me a bit of the way Josh Reynolds paid attention to his characters. Oh, and I also shouldn't forget about Deltrin either. He's the ship's main tech priest and therefore almost more machine than man. This leads to some very hilarious moments from his perspective, where you get to see him struggle to deal with these annoying emotional flashbacks all around him. That brings me to another thing I liked about the novel, and that's the incredibly dry humor. While being a book about sadistic psychopaths in the darkest sci-fi universe in existence, this book had me laugh out loud quite a couple times. The Night Lords can be extremely sarcastic and sassy at times, leading to quite hilarious scenarios. They also don't take shit from anyone and won't hesitate to tell someone to go shove it, even though they might be greatly outnumbered or greatly outgunned. There isn't so much humor in this book you could call it a comedy, but it definitely has its moments. Great characters and humor already make this a great read, but what really tops it off are the emotional moments. Now I can't say much about what exactly happens without spoiling it for you, so I won't do that, but trust me when I say that this book also has some very tragic moments. So get your tissue box ready, because these books might have you in tears by the end. The only downside I can really think of is the big overarching story. The overarching plot is not necessarily the most memorable or unique, but on the other hand, I did like the ending and I wasn't bored at any point, so I don't think it's a big problem. All in all, I rate this book 5 out of 5 Black Library stars. It has great characters, humor, tragedy, and interesting plot twists. I would advise all to read this book, and I definitely look forward to reading more from ADB. Ave Dominus Nox.
If you like this video, please consider subscribing and click ringing the bell to appease the Great Horned Rat. For more lore content, please check my main channel and leave any book recommendations in the comments down below. I gotta get back to reading the next book.